Hang on, folks, as we got more joining us. Welcome. It's about those AMC apes, baby. Welcome, folks. It's great to have you here. I'm your happy healer lover, and I'm Keith Landy. It's great to have you here. I hope you like those graphics. We're going to be having a great one this evening. Going to be covering MeetKevin too, by the way. I know some of you guys just a little bit longer. Almost everybody's on. We've got over 30 channels we go to, so if it's not busy where you are, it might be busy on one of the other channels, so keep that in mind. And do participate in the comments. I'll be watching them as we go, and I'll also be willing to answer questions, and there may be an opportunity for a phone call or two if we can get to that. I'm very transparent, unlike the person that we are covering this evening. And just waiting a moment so that our fellow apes have a moment to get in. Okay, I think that's going to do it. Welcome. I am your happy healer lover. For those of you who don't know that, MeetKevin, the roast starts soon. AMC, by the way, was up a staggering 15% despite on YouTube. This guy said that it didn't have a catalyst. It's almost like he doesn't know what a catalyst is. It wasn't accurate and it cost his viewers. Will he stand for that even? Will you, MeetKevin? He says he stands by his word, but all he ever does is weasel away from his word and jumps on every side of the issue, like of every issue. And so we're going to deep dive truth, and this is going to be about MeetKevin Prafrath for governor of the state of California, and I'll leave you to be the judge. But just be sure to hear me out, because there's lots to cover, and no matter whether you're a supporter of his or not, this is a keen and honest, fair and true review of a man who hopes to be governor of the state of California, and that is serious business. This will be a serious accounting that I hope you can expect to get something out of and appreciate. And I'll bring it to your attention over this time that I'll be doing this, and he'll be on the agenda, but so will other things, because it's important to describe in detail and show the proof of how much stronger that the ways and means of American mantics is over what Kevin teaches. It'll help America. Just watch and see. Kevin often messes it up, and we categorize it, and we categorize it and catalog it in real time. This is something that is important. So MeetKevin, this is a lesson for you, and it's an important one. So pay attention and try to understand, as you're a fair game focal point, and you make a great case to avoid, my friend. You use too much greed to work, and you fail in ways that are distasteful. The people have tried to tell you, but you ignore them, Kevin. So now the world will know, and you should treat Kevin, you should treat people with the love that we treat you with. Truth and love is not a bad thing. Try not to rely on up. So to find him on YouTube. It's at MeetKevin, and Twitter at Real MeetKevin. The name, and he is really not that real at the moment. So we're gonna watch Kevin show us why, though. I have some prepared media as well, and then afterwards we'll discuss it on the show. And welcome. And as we progress, we will show and teach the talent that American Mantics and Happy Healing, the powers that will propel our society into the New Age world. And that is what the system of American Mantics will provide for. The ability to use every American's God-given talents to pursue the best world possible, making people empowered to live much happier lives than the way they live now. And that's because we all deserve a better life, and apes know that. Even those who don't know that can get so much better, like Mr. McGreedy over here, MeetKevin. And despite the FUD from news personalities not focused on their own due diligence, you can't trust people who have proven themselves to be on every side of a position so that they can gain favor on each side of that position, like MeetKevin does with the apes. He will first do something like declare himself to be a proud ape, which is his ploy to take from the apes in some way. But apes aren't focused on Kevin's games of greed. For the most part, apes, they're mostly trusting, and Kevin takes advantage of that trust. Apes do two things consistently. They buy AMC stock and they hodl it, and I don't think Kevin understands that this is not a momentum stock. This is about unified apes buying and holding. Time to clarify some things, though. This is about Kevin, and we'll keep it real, and we'll keep it fair, and let's get things off to a start. I want you guys to pay attention to this next piece we have here, and it's all for you, and it's all for the truth.
How many videos are you trying to put out today? 10.
MeetKevin. He could be your next governor of California? Really? Here's Kevin. I call him Meaty McGreedy.
How many are we at? Let's see. We got market open, close, Trump crypto video, the Newsom video, AMC squeeze video. We're at 5. It's 12:35, so we got some work to do. How long have you been at this?
Good 10 hours today, yeah.
Can the printer make the shirts more vibrant? I want more color. Like, if we charge $2 more and they charge $2 more, can they make them inkier?
I can ask.
All right, thanks. So right now we're making a 20-part plan for his TikTok, where each one is an elevator pitch. Homelessness is a disaster in California. On day 1, when I'm elected governor, we will declare a state of emergency and finally coordinate all of the systems of California to solve homelessness. So now I gotta go film and post videos. We got 2 videos.
I'm trying to think of where I recognize this guy from. Oh, I get it. That's right. Pee Wee Herman.
I don't even know what it was.
Alright, here's the problem with this guy. Every time MeetKevin decides he's going to go talk to the homeless and preach to them about how he's going to solve homelessness, as if everybody else were just buffoons. He calls them weenie babies. See, the thing about Kevin is he is always out looking for his next bite. He knows he's hungry. He knows he wants success. And when he sees people he sees and views to be suckers, he doesn't miss the opportunity to bite. Now, he knows Californians are not happy with the homelessness situation. If he were so in tune with that, how come throughout his many shows he hasn't been talking about the homeless veterans that are on the street? Hasn't mentioned them once. And I know because I watch his show. The homeless tents that are adding up are only a problem to the extent that they cause a problem in the real estate market. That's how we hear it on Kevin's channel, and it never became a problem until it was time for him to package it back up and to sell it back to the people as giving him being the only one capable of solving this issue. And what was he going to use to solve that problem with? Well, by golly, none other than his own ingenuity, his own brilliance. Oh, and for you to get out of the way, because obviously you didn't know. All you had to do was align a few of the different government organizations to all work in unison, pulling a big flower out of the ground and solving homelessness. Now, this brings me to the second stage. Why was Kevin crying today? Oh, and Kevin was crying today. Let me show you. I'll show you one of his videos. But never mind that for just one moment. Kevin didn't know this, but with an attitude like that and going to speak at a homeless grounds, and you're telling these folks, well, we're gonna solve homelessness with that smutty attitude, and you're walking in there looking like you're 25? Are you kidding me? That's like taking a drug addict and telling them you're gonna solve drug addiction just like that, snap of a finger, yippity yap. They're gonna look at you like you got two heads. The pain and suffering these folks have been through, Kevin, you don't know the first place. But yet, in an effort, and this is why I've lost respect for Kevin, and what I've noticed is a lot of other people losing respect for Kevin, and what I think is that is what's most hard for Kevin. Personally, that's what I think. I think what's most painful for Kevin is his realization that he's doing this all backwards. He doesn't know where he's going wrong with it. He hasn't ever ran a business. He's never managed his staff. He doesn't know how to do that stuff. He knows how to be a shrewd guy. We get that. I've gotten that treatment from him. I mean, let's not forget, I started off wanting to help this guy. I wanted to get my charter bus up there ASAP so he can get going on his campaign. I'm a YouTube campaigner for president of the United States, and he was a YouTube campaigner for governor. And for all I can tell, he was the second one. Well, by golly, if it weren't for me, maybe he wouldn't even be running at all, I'm thinking, because I've been on watching his channel for a long time and make myself prevalent in the comments. He knows who I am. He referring to me on the show. All right, but that's neither here nor there. We're talking about he's on his campaign now. This is his first stop. This is where it all begins for him. And he's already done tasteless campaign shows where he's shooken his course members for all they're worth. For sure, whatever they're going to give up. They can't give up too much now because prices rose that week even. They're rising all the time with Kevin. And he has no problem charging either. But yes, if you walk into a park full of the homeless who've been suffering and talk to them like that, they're going to give you an earful. They're going to make sure you never forget about their plight. And I'm quite certain, not having gotten any kind of video coverage, that that's exactly what happened. And because Kevin is not transparent, we're not going to hear about it. You didn't hear about me, and he says he's transparent. He asked for a debate on his live campaign donation show, where he gets to bring in money from his course members and viewers, while at the same time making all kinds of mad bank from YouTube. Now this is where Kevin's greed runs deep. That's what you have to know about Kevin. I call him Meaty McGreedy. Everywhere he goes, hi, who are you? Kevin Praffrat. No, Meaty, he's got to go Meaty McGreedy now. I swear, getting into a comedy, boy, I'll just have a great old time with this guy. He is my full comedy routine. Okay, so then Kevin comes back on. He does this second video, and he's crying, pretty much, talking about his real estate ventures, and oh, how they didn't go so great. I mean, he must only, maybe he went from, well, he had $20 million, and because he's such a snob and he doesn't know how to manage things, obviously, he's gotten lucky through COVID, that he starts crying when things start getting a little bit difficult. This isn't a man who's been tried, in any sense of the word, and the only reason I'm railing on the guy is because he needs some humility. Clearly, this guy needs some humility. He doesn't know what he says he knows, and I'll introduce you to people who know what they say they know. But this guy, he doesn't know what he says he knows. He is a complete charlatan. He is what we call a fake, because you're dealing with Kevin. So maybe it's not that these guys are so hard to deal with, Kevin, that you're not liking them so much. Maybe it's that you're hard to deal with. Okay, take a look at Kevin right now. This is him crying, talking about lost real estate ventures.
Freaking state of California. At the same time, I have remodeled multiple, at least 5 single-family houses in the span of 5 weeks. Within 5 weeks, like start to finish. Total fixer-upper, 5 weeks done. Total fixer, 5 weeks done. Total fixer, 5 weeks done. Meanwhile, sitting here with vacant buildings waiting for architects and engineers to push paper on things we know are honestly quite ridiculous and permitted by code and totally minor. Toxic. So anyway, folks, support. Hopefully you don't mind this sort of Friday Meet Kevin update. And
Now look at poor Kevin. I could just picture it. He just got done talking to his audience at his latest rally of homeless people beating up on him, I'm sure. And he doesn't even know why. And that's what makes it partly funny, is because it is Kevin and because we do know what Kevin is about. But also what must be weighing on his mind is the outrageous costs of running his campaign the way he's running it. And I, for one, have always said he must not be serious about his campaign, because if he was, he would be doing things differently. But now it honestly could be the combination of between either he doesn't know what he's doing, well, that's obvious, he doesn't want to foot the bill, that's obvious, and so he ends up going the cheaper way, so he thinks, and it turns out being vastly more expensive than he anticipates, with the extra nuance costs, the various staff people who need to be put up in hotels. He's going all out for his stage. I told him with Happy Force 1 he would have the stage right on top of the bus. With Happy Force 1 he'd have his whole studio and everything he needs for his daily show right inside of the campaign bus. His accommodations, shower, office staff accommodations, a conference room where office staff can work, a passenger area where you can even bring on more people or family. The campaign would easily get by with the campaign bus alone if you really wanted to push it to bring a couple of extra cars, saving a monumental amount of cash and empowering the campaign to be out on campaign more than home, getting things done, showing the electorate that you mean business. But that's not the way Kevin went. He went the more expensive route. He's doing private flights, airfares, hotel accommodations, taxis, Ubers, and God knows what. And all of this without convenience. So by the time he looks like this, he's already been stressed at, yelled at, beat up upon. He's beaten himself up too, lost money, and he's going backwards further in the hole. Would that teach him? When I started my race for president, I gave myself 2 years and it wasn't enough. So I said I would continue to the next one and do everything I could to make a difference, because people matter, people have purpose and value and a reason for living, and every single soul matters, and I stuck with it. When Kevin runs, he's got 5 to 6 months to not just prepare, but till election day, and he spends his time doing YouTube shows without getting on the campaign, making that his primary focus and putting the YouTube show on the campaign bus with him. Had he took the generous offer I made him, he would have that, and he'd also have a great experienced campaign manager who'd be able to do a lot more right out the door that these campaign kids are failing at left and right. But then we wouldn't have learned about Kevin what we know about Kevin to be the fact today. What if working with me, we made him governor? Because I'll be honest with you, from everything I could tell about things and what I can see about things, I don't think he's going to be governor. But quite frankly, I don't even want to take the risk of Meaty McGreedy becoming governor, quite frankly. For his own good, but also for the good of everybody else. He's not ready for it. He sees things too greedy. Greed is literally the disparage of the world. It's what's taking us apart, and it's all of what Meaty McGreedy is about. We all deserve better than that, and that's why your happy healer got into politics, is because I wasn't going to be that, and that's all I see people doing and becoming: self-driven, eager. It's not about them, it's about the they serve. It's about their suffering. It's about where we all came from, and not to forget that. And that's what the people were making sure Kevin did not forget, and that's what Kevin did not forget, and he'll continue to not forget the many screw-ups that greed continues to bring. Now he sees how greed works in the real life, when you can't just say screw it, when you can't just ignore. It's not so easy to ignore a homeless woman in your face, is it, Kevin? And that's what Kevin does. And when you're making money and investments, you can ignore somebody if you make them upset, they don't like your purchase, you just costed them thousands or even millions of dollars. You could just hang up on them. The end. Total snobbery, sure, but the end. Your life goes on, getting your little Tesla car and drive on. But when you're managing a staff and you have to actually play politics right off the bat with your own staff, and you fail there, well, that tells us a lot, Kevin. All right, Meaty McGreedy, let's get going, buddy.
Yesterday, George, we were talking about the bus, and we're kind of like, the bus is going to keep us stuck in a location, so maybe the bus is not exactly the way we want to go. We maybe fly somewhere, like you fly to San Francisco, and then you drive to Sacramento, Tahoe, come back. So you kind of make it like a 3 or 4 day. That's probably going to be the most cost-effective way to move around. What did I say? When the Federal Reserve expects inflation to actually end. A lot of people wondering about that, so I go into the granular, I go into the nitty-gritty, the details about when the Fed actually thinks inflation's going to end, kind of what they're seeing from their contacts. So gotta post that, gotta post the Apple video, gotta post the STEM update.
In all of my life, I have never... Last night, Kevin claimed that AMC had no hope, if you remember that. And so sorry, Apes. He said that he has to be serious about it all, and that if Apes can understand that, then they're wrong again, because he has to be honest about what he sees, you know? And he went into a long diatribe he read just beforehand about rates and other things, and that it's deciding that this unrelated information actually belonged to AMC itself, and that it's lacking a catalyst. Apes don't think about catalyst, Kevin. Apes are on a mission. Apes are great at two things, especially well. They buy AMC and they hold AMC, and to a lesser extent, GameStop. They buy and they hold, Kevin. That's what they do. They do that because they're unified in action. It's the idea of financial justice for millions of Americans who have been forced to live without. They don't have the privilege you have, Kevin. They're desperate for better times and realize that the most powerful force to rely upon is love, and that love for one another in the community is strong, while only you can stay focused on your greed, where you can go around and choose what next meme rally that you can unload upon. That's not what apes do. You're doing greed. Apes buy and hold. You buy and you sell. You have to be pushed into action to actually hold. Do you remember? You won't just do the right thing on your own. The only holding you're doing is the holding you were made to do after you broke promises again, and you claim to be honest and that your word matters so much to you. But it's not how it felt to your followers on YouTube when you ignored their questions, and they're certain that they knew you. Do you know why they didn't know you, Kevin? For the same reasons that I didn't know you. Well, at first. Because you lied about who you are and what you represent. And the only thing that you're interested in is duping people into believing that whatever you have to sell and charging forevermore for it is the way to go, and that's where your story starts and ends. But you don't get to challenge your happy healer lover to a debate and then run like a coward and continue to take from the ape movement, Kevin. Taking from course members. Taking from your campaign kids when they have to pay for their own dominoes, right? And then produce videos for you so that they can produce more income for you on YouTube. You take from the homeless community when you pretend you can solve homelessness in 60 days. You know you can't do that. That's a smack in the face, and they felt it. You know it, and so do we all. I saw the videos, Kevin, of them getting angry. And the many ways that you used to manipulate the conversation, making those that felt offended feel foolish in front of cameras for ever having questioned you. Try that with me, Kevin. Let's see what happens then. Because those folks, despite your fancy answer to them, were in lots of pain. They know you can't solve their problems in 60 days, Kevin, because you never addressed their problems to start with. You seem to be more concerned what you can take from the homeless than you are than what you could do for the homeless, as you go around from taking all you can. Even charging your own course members and public viewers and subscribers to pay to ask questions about your campaign. Seriously? That's completely tone deaf, Kevin. That is what a greedy mind does. Do you want those kinds of policies and actions as the governor of California, folks? Could you imagine that? While apes, on the other hand, are making better prospects for one another and for us all, as they possess the power together to deliver on such wonderful gifts through their unified efforts and action, holding and buying their way to a more fair financial system. Holding hedge funds accountable who want to bet against America and her people's future. They have short-sold our families for generations, and they continue to do that same practice today. At a time when we need to make more progress than at any other time before, and our very lives count on our ability to succeed in that endeavor. Yet, hedge funds are still betting against our future. They only do that because they have our money in the first place, and they use it to sell our future out to the lowest bidder so that they can profit. They despise us. They call us dumb money. The apes are not Kevin's types. All you have to do is follow what he says, and the facts, they speak for themselves. I'll share all this and so much more throughout this ongoing series with Kevin. In fact, the only thing that can get between apes and their successes is someone who claims to be an ape, has a large audience, and talks to real apes, but doesn't know what the movement's about, just like he doesn't know the many things he teaches otherwise. And he teaches it to his course members, right? For top-notch dollar. It's all smoke and mirrors. When he's seemingly on point, though, right? It's all a horse and pony show for Kevin. Kevin has made an art out of making progress at the expense of others. So, let's see how when someone feels when what they do to others, someone else does to them. So he pretends like he wants to put apes in their place to get views and pretend that AMC's actual prospects has something to do with typical fundamentals that a typical company is judged by. And all apes know this. Yet Kevin, he doesn't seem to know this. When the market's low, apes are buying and they're holding. When the market's fast, apes are buying and they're holding. Apes have done well despite Kevin's cancerous effects. That's the fact. He hopes to latch onto everything and take a piece of them with him every time. Apes would never do such a thing to one another. It's folks like Kevin that he teaches to be like him that do things like that. Apes would never hurt one another. They operate like your happy healer does. They want to figure a way forward that doesn't include murdering one another as we make progress. That's exactly what greed does. Apes operate on courage and love. And greed, like Kevin's, operates on greed and fear, just like those hedge funds. You see, Kevin claims to know what he's talking about when he misleads his viewers, when he's telling him that AMC has no momentum. But when actually it does, and it has huge momentum, and an amazing unified effort of lovers at its heart. What he's actually saying is that he himself has no interest in counting on the Apes unity movement and has no imagination to see how it can be successful. That's what he's saying. And that's the true mind of a mind on greed, like Kevin Pathrath. They don't understand people and their love for one another and how that too can move markets. That's the difference between your happy healer lover who's eager to put his policies and plans versus the guy who is struck by an idea, Kevin, and ran. Yeah, that would be Kevin Pathrath. He thought he can con job and fast talk America like the same way he does his poor course members. But he's a fool. And because his greed has caused him to bite off more than he can chew, now we can all see it for what it is. Kevin is over-leveraged in his bets and his life in his ideology of greed, and he's outclassed by his happy healer lover. And I'm going to show you the latest Twitter activity during this live stream as well. Plus, I will share with you so much more on Kevin's pompous ways. He's only ever thinking about his self and what he can do and become and be. He doesn't care about the dreams and hopes of others, as a happy healer does. And that's all I'm ever concerned about, what we can be together, because that's where the party's at. Greedy people are lonely people. They are fake and lost. They know it's true more than anyone. I was there. I know how fake it is when you are loaded, but watching everyone around you get sick and die. Kevin loves this type of world, and this is the world Kevin has faith in? It's a world that consumes itself, and he'll find himself standing over the dead bodies of those that he took from. So, in greed hell, you never have a winner, unless you also have 10 losers right beside that winner for the benefit of that winner. And Kevin is that winner, and his course members are that loser, using massive greed to offset more honest folks. And greed is an ugly place, and I teach about that for free, folks. So while Kevin could do that reprehensible greed and tell you how to pay for it with the courses below, I use the mindset of love and contrast the dangerous mindset and irresponsible human suffering it causes. You know, I've had enough of it, and I'm calling people out. I do my best to help fuse, the right ideas, and to see ideas develop a better, more unified human working machine capable of massive progress. That's what I want to see. Although, after being ignored by you, Kevin, and talking about the principles of love and truth as I teach them and having them ignored by you, I want to put the two ideas up against one another and see which one's the more powerful and capable force. You see, Kevin, I guess, thinks of apes as dumb money because they made the mistake of trusting and believing in him in the first place. Well, hopefully they won't make that mistake if they've seen their happy healer ape, because we're pointing it out today. And it's more about getting to know Kevin today and this program, what it's about. And then we'll take a more deep dive in the psychosis psychology of Kevin and the reprehensible ways he has. Think about that. We all can be greedy bastards, just like Kevin. But we can't do that, all of us, and have a world worth living in at the same time. That's the disease that Kevin brings with him. Of course, he's not the only one, but he is your happy healer lover's focus for right now, and for good reason. So saying that Kevin's behind on his due diligence when it comes to AMC is an understatement, really, because he said it was going to go down, and it went up. He said it needed a catalyst to do anything. And yet, later today, I kid you not, he claimed that the catalyst was finally in. It was actually yesterday. And that it was like last week, that it was moving up. And he convinced people it was moving up, but it didn't. He bought a bet against it, and it didn't come through. So he doesn't know. He's always on the wrong side of these issues. So long as he thinks he can fake it out, then we have to break it out. So that's what we'll do. And you hear from his own mouth. He said it was priced too much, and he wants to do things his way, a smarter way. He's not considering just how short-sighted his decisions are. That's the problem. He's learning the hard way, it seems, as he's like this weekend, for example. But this is only the beginning, Kevin. A good candidate like your happy healer knows we have to have a safe haven, a magical place. A happy healer can wash off the hate and load up on the love and get back out and represent the love movement. But Kevin, you have greed, and you let greed corrupt your thoughts. You'll see over time, as Kevin's conundrum with the bus and other things begin to add up and show themselves true, his campaign will have a lot of problems, and I don't wish those problems on him. These are all the results of the decisions Kevin makes. I hope that he would make better decisions. I tried, but he didn't care. And he treats his fans and followers and course members that he doesn't care. And he's not spending the money on his campaign. It's just his payroll, really, that he's spending on. He spent a little this weekend, but he's missing the mark. And he's running out of time. You need more than donations, Kevin. And you need a better game plan. One that involves something other than the collection of dollars that you so often seek. You don't even have a campaign bus. You don't seem serious to me. And I've said this a million times. Oh yeah, and naked short selling, Kevin, it is illegal. You didn't call me out on that. Don't think for a moment that that's okay. Naked short selling is wrong, and it's absolutely breaking rules around a process that is already a fundamental problem and only utilized in a world of greed hell that is bad. When I think of an active time and where a movement exists where they use love and truth coupled with care and courage for one another, Kevin, that allows for mutual respect, and most important to this movement, unity in action, that is when I see what I call a future that we all deserve, whether we're working together for common, well-defined, much-needed goals that are impossible to achieve in greed hell, or anything else. These are a cakewalk in a world of God's love, as I formerly have called it. And it's called American Mantics. It rolls off the tongue easier for sure. Think about it. So, American Mantics is a place where unity and love, it reigns supreme. I think the Apes can help show contrast to what I mean by unity in action with this movement, and shed some light just how powerful, just, loving, and knowledgeable, powerful people who respect the truth, who love one another enough to develop a unity, who gives all the people involved great benefit from the increased power that they possess as a group. Kevin, you wouldn't know about that. You don't use your people. And it's actually based on market basis. And it's based on reasoning. And it's already happened once. And people aren't exactly calling their energy weak, are they? So, are the power of God's way a weak way of doing things? That's why I say we need to level up 1,000 times in our life to use the language of investors. And that's only the beginning. We need to build the world we know that is possible based on our sciences and accomplishments thus far, which tells us we can have a much, much better world. That's what apes know, Kevin. And yet, you don't have faith in this. Things are good enough in your view. You like the way the markets work. They made you rich, and you've been quoted as saying as you have no problem beating hedge funds. That's because you're already rich, Kevin, and you have no problem holding. No worries of going hungry yet. But we need to advance in all areas, Kevin. And it's going to take more effort than what this lazy, but most of all, greedy world of Kevin's will never do. And that's why I've told Kevin, and I will always repeat, just for the sake of reminding people, that greed will never take us to the promised land. Greed is the thing that is holding us back from the promised land, not the thing bringing us to the promised land. So don't listen to fake FUD that hopes to destroy the future of even their own children. So do the right thing for Kevin's kids, because he's not. And that's Kevin's short-sightedness again. He surely wouldn't ever do anything to hurt his own family. Yet, greed will. And that is what Kevin still needs to learn. He would have been wise and humble to realize when I wrote to him and spoke to him many times over the last year, he is no wiser for the wear. And that's sad. And it's testament to the hold that greed has on the mind of people who accredit it for the good that it's done them. They excuse its less pretty sides, as I call it, like the fact that it can't get health care. Did you know Kevin takes issue with MeetKevin, according to his statements that I've heard over the last year? And yet, he still has not answered questions on healthcare till this day, and he's running for governor. Greed is never concerned about taking from people. Greed is the force of division and death. Unity is left to American mantics thinking, and that's what I teach. So if you look at the many things I do and programs that I have, all designed in increasing our share of wealth and happiness, which raises the prospects of all people, and you don't even have to use the coupon code below, Kevin McGreedy, because I do it for free. Kevin can learn a thing or two about providing a thing or two of value. So far, the only one I see him provide value for is himself. Again, greed, it'll never take us to the promised land. And greed is a liar, and it teaches us to be like Kevin. And that's not the way to be. Kevin sells a lie. It's a dream that's not possible for most. And Kevin isn't concerned with those folks. His ideas work for him. And that's good enough. And the hell with whatever damage his greedy ways cause to society of the future that so many, like our happy healer, have dedicated himself to making better, while Kevin continues to exploit. Greed is only interested in barely surviving so that money chasers can stockpile their cash, and that for all righteousness should be working for us today so that we can have a better life for tomorrow, where they'll let you starve and be without food. That's not the heart of an ape, to be that way. And to be making so much money, being appreciated by others, that is what all people should have, Kevin, not just you. And they need help. And when you do greed, you'll be shamed by your happy healer. So it's really a shameful thing. Especially, my goodness, be careful with that greed. When I say happy healer, a lot of people don't care about the hedge funds. They just want to make money. Think about it in this world of greed hell. That's what most people think about. And Kevin picked up on that. And he diamond hands with that mentality. And it speaks mentalities, like to the mentality of that. So, all right, but let's move along. Apes have made a compassionate point and movement dedicated to the advancement of ordinary people, because this is how we are supposed to get everything done. Through unity and with courage and care, and for people who matter around love and truth. Greed is destroying our society, and as a presidential contender, I will defend the ape economics ideals, sets of values that has everything to do with love and unified action, as apes relate to what I've just described, versus any other way of bringing people together to create a society that works for all. And I'm 42 years old. I know business, including the corporate structure, very well, as I was a Boston market general manager for 7 years. And having started my own business and seeing it do amazing success, and then watching the various crises, including 9/11. I've been paying attention to life before the age of computers and after the age too. And I see Kevin understands that typically you can pass people off as trolls, but when they live by a set of principles that are built around love and aimed at living for you and loves you and wants the best for you and your children, it starts to get to be a really tall order just to hate your happy healer lover just for saying what you deep down already know to be the truth. That's what's fair, and that's what rules supreme in the hearts of good men. Kevin looks like he's gotten smacked by embarrassment when he's learned that someone gotten in trouble for naked shorting recently on millennial money. It's very illegal what he's appeared to realize, as he broke into the computer at the time, and I was watching it. His happy healer lover listens and knows what's going on. And so that's what was going on that show at the time. And then it turned to Tesla, by the way, another stock that I got out of the moment that Kevin bought his many options. And so I don't think you can see all that well, but my American Mantix tunes, well, they're geared for huge changes and energies in which we live that make a big difference on important things in our lives. So you got to know when it's a bad trade, and greed is always a bad trade, and it's never for courage or for care. And those goals that we make for ourselves, they have to be done often. And, when Kevin makes these calls, it's hard to make money in these options. And it's not making money unless that stock is moving up consistently. And a stock like Kevin loves, that Tesla, has lost a massive amount of money in options. And this is when Kevin was still buying Tesla, when the last few maybe were buying it, maybe as course members, until they realized they were going wrong, and what dangers that the wrong following somebody just because they say they're genius doesn't necessarily mean it, and real people get hurt. I've said on my show, even though that I've been sharing stories about Kevin, for example, that I've honestly offered myself to Kevin and my campaign bus. It was a generous offer. He ignored it. I was shocked. Who does that? I don't even hold grudges. Yet. That's not how Greed Hell does things. Greed Hell always holds grudges, because that's how greed works. It always needs consequences and fear. But he still would have to make the effort that he never made in the first place. You return a serious call when you get one, Kevin. You might not be serious about this campaign, and that's what I've been beginning to think. And though I still ask where your charter bus is and your campaign bus, and and I've even told you that it would cost you around $300,000 to rent, minimum, and you even said it on your show. So you would imagine that if you were serious, you wouldn't ignore an offer like that, Basically, in jest, he might have thought to leave it up to the campaign kids, but they don't understand how to do it either. And so I felt they needed the help, and I offered myself up. Would I serve as his campaign manager now, like I said then? Well, yes, for the same reasons that I offered then, I would now, to make our future better, and to see leaders become better, and to see better leaders win. He, of course, would have to put gas in the bus and pay for maintenance and repairs. But this would be his campaign bus, and he may need it for a year and a half if he never stopped running, because I don't see how he has enough time to win this time, knowing how campaigns work. He's moving way too slow, and the energy is too low. He needs to show more of himself, and the side of himself that cares. And that's not going to be easy with policies that he's running with now. If you can't win, you can't do any good, Kevin. A smart, wise man would focus on that being a factor. So, figure this, Kevin. It wouldn't be smart to lose because you couldn't change. My supporters really get it and understand what we're fighting for. It's worth the effort. Happy healers always go the extra mile. Just think of how far apes go. Just imagine now that they understood the critical thinking that I'm teaching already in Ape Economics. You should check it out. So be a part of the movement if you can. So this is going to be the kind of content that I'm putting out. And Happy Force 1, by the way, Kevin, has its own studio and the ability to keep in contact with your own show. And it's incredibly short-sighted and absent-minded of you to miss what would be a great way to show off your campaign and to keep it going. And yet, when I offered that then, just as I did now, you blocked me. And you said that I'm a troll. And you can't just block people that you can't argue with because they're right. And I am no troll. And you know that. I ran a presidential race already and have had lots of support around this country. People are amazing. And you took all of that for granted. I'm a humble person. And you shouldn't take anyone for granted. You have no idea who is watching your show. And you have to see when another can blossom. So that's why I made the offer. Because it was a good idea at the time. Even if you couldn't relate with that at the time, I was genuinely excited for you. And as I have always said, I love and care for all. And I love MeetKevin. But that doesn't mean I stop being a happy healer. I can't ignore how he's conducting himself. And in the areas where MeetKevin is overheating and missing the points, he misses by so much and is tone deaf by a football field. Remember how he handled the AMC shares explanation? I never heard so many descriptive measures attributed to contracts and to the shares of a company that has nothing to do with the shares of a company, but everything to do with options. Options doesn't even have any underlying stocks or shares for purchase, just groups of shares under contract and just to be under control for a portion of time. Kevin, you perhaps haven't, dealt with corporate shares or business and doesn't understand the relationship between customers, shareholders, and employees. This is a delicate balance. And what I teach has tremendous value in that way. So, because he's going to learn about this on the trail, if he seriously is running for governor, We live in a scarcity of greed hell. It's a stupid thing to deal with as we waste talent and have our priorities tuned to profit and greed rather than to discovery and progress. It's costing our lives, and greed is reckless in that way. And yet, greed has a force too. It's from fear and selfishness and whatever excuses one tells themselves to feel better about it. It's a man-made scarcity brought on by reckless greed. That's our lives today that we can overcome. But we have to get involved. Like Andre did last week or a few days ago when he was talking to Kevin. But not just to get support. Because you have to understand why it's important. And that's what I like about the apes. They get it. You can't be too dialed into greed that's served you so well like Kevin. It really leaves people behind for death to consume. All people should be better. I wish Kevin understood this, and he just doesn't understand it yet. I was hoping to understand and help him understand. So, of course, direct him in a way to be more compassionate. In other words, winnable. He's not winnable right now. This is where most people are going, no matter where they've been before. This is where the future is headed. And if you want to be on the train, even for a public sense, but don't fake it, then you'll make progress and help and hope it progresses well. That's what Americamantics is, and it's needed. Better ways are needed. Happy healing is needed. All it takes is knowing the energies to know that. Time now is about 8:58 p.m., folks, and we'll be wrapping this up soon. But I study science, and I could honestly say is a scientifically accurate statement with the exception of little greed doesn't work, and Andre gets it. That's why he's buying a home for his parents. And if Kevin doesn't understand that very well, I can say it in German if it penetrates easier. And greed hurts very bad, and it's hurting society, and it's limiting our ability to capitalize on much stronger human strengths. Not to do away with money or the tools we use to implement the systems and ways of many of the things we do, but to improve upon them and to get away from the greed that is killing our chances of major progress and reward. But we must do away with greed, and it can be done. It's the devil, by the way. It's horrible. And it does away with love. Love is more natural. You guys should really listen to this media that's coming out. I'm so fully committed, honest, and intent with an eager heart, fully engaged to share information that will truly change your life and all of our lives. I mean depression, all of it. And I'm doing very well at it. And I've been sharing brilliant ways of how I became a millionaire when I did. The thing is, don't use what I've developed to be effective for greed, which tends to meet the ends without the means, without the cause. And that's not the goal. Developing within balance and at a fast rate and in tune with our greatest means and effort, made most efficient by our care, effort, and ideals that allows for honest progress, serves all of us. You can't leave people behind is the biggest truth. People need to be set free with ability and empowerment, just like you were, Kevin. We really need, to do a better job. And we leave so much on the table. And I just want to help us fix this like so many want to do. That's my life's purpose. Not pursuing greed and helping others pursue greed. Promote love, Kevin. That's what life's about. Life's short. Great job on buying AMC, by the way, but bad job on explaining why you did it. We know why you did it. It was because of a match play for your campaign. But it did not include your own campaign to be in that fund. You didn't put your own money in it. It's a tone deaf thing to do, Kevin. Has that not occurred to you? It leaves your own supporters thinking that you're cheap, and it's a tone deaf move to make. Yet to you, it only had upside. And that's the mind stuck on greed. It was a ploy to get ape money. It worked. But that stuff only works for a while. There's too many losers. For every winner, there's always 10 losers. Just because you had a rich upbringing with your family business in Germany, not everybody's gotten that ability. Think about that. We need love for unity for all. So I hope that Apes continue to keep up the great work they're doing, that this movement is beautiful. Apes are happy healers, and they never even knew it. It's just natural for them to be lovers, as it is for Kevin to be greedy. But we'll continue to do our part and hopefully influence those that belong to be doing better to actually get to the work of doing better faster too. And that's the point of why we're doing this. So what I want to do, because otherwise we're going to be on all night, is move on to I told you and promised you, and I am a man of my word, that I would show you the Twitter page where I have been talking to Kevin. And I think you can appreciate this because, and I'm pulling it up now, because it's going to really expose Kevin in some ways, just right here in communication. And no, Kevin, I don't get satisfaction out of doing that. I am rather focused on what you're not focused on. And I'm trying to help you get focused, Kevin. And if it takes having to slug it out a bit to make my family better, I will. Especially when, it's a just cause and that it is right. You have effectively ignored people who care about you, who want to see you succeed, not even sure why, not even aware why. Like I was not originally aware why. And but you play a lot of games, and it's really not a good thing to do that. It's gotten you far, but so far as greed has taken you, it will surely take you to death too. And it's not going to take your family there with you along the way for the good times. It's not going to take your friends. It's going to leave people who, you could tell them till you're blue in the face about all kinds of different ways and means. But if you got lucky and you're using greed and you're using this voodoo witchcraft that not necessarily is voodoo, but you are playing mind tricks with folks, then it's going to take for other folks who know that you are doing that and see it and can contrast and compare the difference to show that difference. And that's what we're doing here, Kevin. And we're not going to stop doing that, even though I can be nice at the same time. That is actually a strength of happy healing, and it's the exemplification that we all need, because I am a humble guy. Okay. Just getting us over to Twitter. I hope you guys are having a great night. I know what you guys want to see. This is for my apes This is for the apes. If you hear me, apes, holler. Holler, apes. Hoo, 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 hoo. You know who you are. I love my apes. You guys are great. I love my apes. Yep, you guys are the best. There you go. Love it. All right, let's get to it. Okay, we're opening up Twitter now. I'm going to go ahead and get you guys moved on over to it. Ba-da-ba-da-ba. Bam! Just like that. And so we just logged on. Oh, what do you know? And there we go. The first thing we see, it's Kevin Aru. Hello, Mr. Kevin Aru. What you up to? Should I do daily market live streams during the entire market trading time frame and include bonuses like if you donate to the campaign, I'll review your stock or portfolio live or other challenges. Would be 7 hours, Monday through Friday, rallies, weekends. Now, you know, Kevin, imagine if you were doing that on your campaign bus and you did that during the day, campaign stops at night, and on the weekend, campaign stops too. And as whatever other creative things you come up with, because it really gives the unlimited option at that point. That's why your happy healer lover has Happy Force 1. But apparently you weren't thinking along those lines, and doing this is going to make you a massive amount of money. We know that. And that's to your person. It's not to your campaign. So I don't want to see you on all day fudding the market. Nah, stay away. And I think Apes would appreciate that. But if you get around to doing things right, I think you ought to get a campaign bus and get on to doing things more often and serious for your campaign, because with 6 months to go, less than 6 months, depending on when the actual election is, and you know that, Kevin, then you don't have time to goof around. 4 weekends a month and only having 4 months, 5-6 months left, that's 20 campaign stops. That's not going to cover it. You're not going to be able to do what you need to get done in that time. And it's going to be a very costly venture to do that as well. You should have been smarter about your approach. You should have thought things out more clearly, including your policies. And we're just going to have to answer you and be honest with what we see. And that's what I enjoy about doing my program when it's live, is that I'm allowed and to have a voice and speak truth to people that think they could just go around saying whatever they want, even if it's magical voodoo witchcraft crap, and that for some reason people believe it. Well, it's not just for some reason. It's by design. And it's not that the people that believe it are somehow dumb, but rather that Kevin is a shill. He's somebody who gave in to greed and is using tactics that allow for that. Whether he's working from a program, a book, or just a natural manipulator, he's using tactics and, edging people, talking about things, for example, that leads into, well, you can get the course member below, or leads into what always amounts to putting more money into his pocket. And Kevin, that's beneath you if you're serious about public service. So no, you don't belong doing live streams. You're not going to find the homeless on the live stream. You're not going to find them on the stock market either. So you really need to get out there and be serious about your campaign if this is what you want to do. And if it's really what you want to do, and you're a humble guy and you're serious about it, well then you come knocking to your happy healer and let's get you there. But I, for some reason, don't think you have the humility. I don't think you have I think you're too egotistical. I think it holds you back. I think your pride holds you back. These are the functions and ways and means of greed. Love doesn't need those things. Love can be open and honest, and also be serious and speak its mind. And love has a bit of a hard time in a world of greed. Hell yeah. But it doesn't necessarily, it can compete against greed and win still. And the good news about that is only because that's the power of our almighty creator, God Almighty. You're never going to take the power of God, which is love, and put it against greed and have love lose. Sorry, that don't happen. But what you can do is remove greed from the picture, use love to run our markets, to run our missions, to run our future, and have a better future for it. Yes, that you can do. So it's just a matter of whether, Kevin, you can see that. I doubt you can. I just doubt you can. I hope you can, but I doubt you can. So prove me wrong. Prove me wrong, please, Kevin. For the sake of your own children. Prove me wrong. No, that wouldn't be a good idea. That's a tragic idea. So let's go ahead and inform Kevin on how tragic that is in case he missed today's show. I doubt it. He'll see it, if not now, eventually, because it's on his wall. In fact, if I can get this off here. There we go. Something got in my way on the screen. Not sure if you guys can see that, but... Alright, so... caps. Hey, Kevin! What you got cooking? Room for a happy healer lover? I can't type on this thing. I think it's about time, yeah. I hope so, because times are getting tough to be Kevin. Can you see that, guys? When Meaty McGreedy, should I call him that? I think so. Meaty McGreedy is running for office and spends most of his time in the office. I think you need to learn, my buddy. Oh, can't fit all that. I type too fast. I type like, a bunch of words a minute. I speak German. I do a bunch of things. Are you impressed? Who cares? What I'm impressed about is changing people's lives. That's what I'm impressed about. Yeah, and Kevin, it gets a little tasteless too. You have to realize these areas that you're missing, man. You have to realize that. I think you need a makeover. All right, there you go. And check the show out, of course. Oh, no room for that. We'll leave another. See, that's why I have to leave a bunch of messages. Because when you're the happy healer lover, you're intelligent, you've got a lot to say. And then, you've got this massive greed rolling up. Most people don't really understand the things that I talk about. I have to explain a lot so they can just get the gist. And, greed is just rolling by, it's the way we go. Everybody knows what greed is. It's crushing them. I mean, look at all the people dying on the streets because of it. How can you not know what greed is? It runs the world. Okay, so let's get in here. See any new Meet Kevin here Twitter postings? We did that one. Alright, P.S. I work more than this time frame anyway, so don't worry about the time commitment. So don't worry. Kevin is just fine. I know you were worried about how much time he was putting into making himself a millionaire many times moreover, while losing money on investments, finagling you out of your money, and also getting so much money from YouTube. Do you think YouTube's aware that they're paying a candidate to run his campaign? I don't know, but maybe they should know that. And anyways, that's not for me to decide. And quite frankly, I don't get involved in the affairs of greed hell. I would rather, only to the extent, not in their greed. I don't do corruption. That's the thing. So I'm just focused on the loving part. And for me, it's very easy to be what Kevin says he is, transparent. But for Kevin to actually be transparent, it would be impossible. So when if he's being transparent, it's a total put on, it's fake, and it can't last, because greed is just, it's horrendous. I mean, the things that people do, you know what I mean? The things that Kevin does, and in this case is reprehensible. And so, yeah, sure, Kevin, work your heart out. Why not work? Here, let's leave a comment for him. I can't help myself, folks. I'm sorry. It's a mind on greed, I swear. So he says he wants to know if, if he's working too hard. Now, you know what, Kevin? How about this? Put a little less time. And perhaps put a little less time in all that greed and self-interest, and perhaps put a little bit more time how about a lot more time into love and telling your followers the truth, being honest. If you're going to share advice, don't try to come off as a genius. Share what you know. Be honest about what you don't. And I'm going to also, there's so much more. I have so much more. This last week, we've been getting so much content. And here's the thing. I mean, this is nothing. I mean, this is child's play. This is the first one out. I mean, how deep it goes with Kevin is unbelievable. And it's all personality. It's all him taking and taking and taking, using manipulative ways to do it. And just, I mean, it's amazing. He gets away with it because we're in greed hell. And it's unfathomable for me to accept that. And for a lot of people, they notice that, just like the homeless people did, and it's not okay, Kevin. So we've got to do better. So that's my message to you. This is the show. God bless everybody. I hope you guys tune in again. Please be sure to share this with your friends, and be sure, if you would like. Now, of course, this is not financial advice. This is my own happy healer lover advice, and that is, be an ape. Be a part of a unified movement in action, creating a better world. Be a part of that. God bless you guys, and we'll see you next time right here.